is it downstairs, Father?
Busy and bloody, my child.
Listen carefully. You give us disposable men to fight to their deaths. I give you disposable income.
Means we're making money.
This is my world.
I control
Everything in it.
Serena Marcos, a friend of yours.
Do I seem like someone who has a lot of friends to you?
He can't get through us. How gorgeous.
On one, we ran the door. 3, 2, 1. You forgot the ram.
We didn't bring the ram, Mom. Ram, ma'am. Stop saying frickin' ram.
Is this where you deliver a cool yet comical one-liner?
Nope.
Nerdly Out Loud. This is the new episode for you guys, and I am absolutely ecstatic to be getting this one. I've had a bit of a week, I've had a bit of a month, I've had a bit of a year, to be honest. I think we all have. But a movie came along that showed me 2020 and COVID-19 will not steal everything from us. We can still have awesome movies. We can still be entertained. Knuckledust came round, and oh my days. So if you're going to have a movie that throws everything, including the kitchen sink, at you, this is the one that does it. Tonight I have got James Kermack, the director of the movie, and Moe Dunford, who you may recognize from Vikings, by the way, joining me on the Zoom to talk about Knuckledust. How are you lads tonight?
Good, man. Good.
Hey, Kev.
This is awesome, guys. This is awesome. James, we spoke about this a little while back, but Moe just pretty much hijacked my Twitter DMs and says, look, we're doing this.
That's what he'd do to me on set. He'd tweet me and go, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm like, you're in the room, man. Just say it. It's fine. He loves his Twitter.
Someone told me about Knuckledust, and I actually had to get on to James to say, James, give me a part in this, will you?
well,
just do the lead. Do the lead. It's fine.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks.
And that was it.
All right. Okay, I'll do the lead. Okay.
We did two DMs in Twitter, and that was it. It was on set.
Surely that's how it works these days. That's exactly how it should be done. None of this self-taping. Just DM each other. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that in a second, but I genuinely am thrilled to be speaking to you guys because this is a movie. This is a movie that it took me by surprise. I sat down, and I've said this to you, James. Like I used to work in a video shop, and I used to love my straight to DVD films and all that. You always found yourself a little gem, and of course, it's a little bit different now with streaming platforms and whatnot. But I saw the poster for Knuckledust, and I just thought. And by the way, quick one: the new poster. Oh my days, that is a sexy poster. Yeah. That is an awesome poster. Very Struzen, as you said. Yes. But I saw the original poster and I just thought, oh man, that just looks fun. That just looks fun. And I put it on, and what I got was a callback to the late 90s, early 2000s, just everything I used to love about movies, just tickling my bone. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Like, you make these films and you kind of like, especially a film that's as out there as this is, and your reaction was, the reaction you want to hear, not just like, it came across as a well-written review from a film journalist, but it came across as someone who you imagined sitting in the audience in the cinema, and they got it. And you were just like, that's it. That's the reaction. That's exactly why, we spent this time making this film. So thank you, man. It really, it gave me a lot of heart. It was great.
Awesome, man. I'll be honest with you, I've not been called a film journalist. That is amazing. And that was one of the, like, every now and then when I do put a review out, I'll get like a cheeky little message on Twitter or something like that. And I got your message, and then I got Mo's message as well, sort of just messaging me, kind of saying, thanks for getting the movie and all that kind of thing. And I was just like, how can you not?
You'd be surprised.
Me and James want to talk to someone who's film literate, who gets movies, who knows the effort that is required to put into a movie like this, and you got it. So that's why we want to talk to you, because you love your film, and there's other people out there who love it as much as you do, you know.
Oh, there are. I've seen the reviews coming through, and I'm thrilled to see that there are other people getting it. But let's just remember, I got there first, lads.
you back when you were our only lifeline. We've got one, James. Please, let's get on to him. Do I do it? Do you do it?
Shut it down. Stick with this one. Everyone goes down. We're done. Just use
yeah, you know when you say something and you instantly play it back in your head? Yeah, that was that moment. You guys make my job a little bit easier, and the listeners out there, the viewers out there, because obviously this will be on YouTube as well, let them know exactly who you guys are, how you came into this mad, wonderful industry, and more importantly, how the two of you ended up on Knuckledust together. Bit of a loaded question, but we'll try it.
Mo, do you want to go first?
Well, James's interpretation of me is, hello, I'm Moe Dunford and I'm from Ireland.
Hello there.
But I've always liked the same sort of movies and visual styles that James liked, and I've been acting for maybe 10 years now. And a friend of mine, Amy Bailey, while I was rehearsing this little fight teaser in Ireland, video FaceTimed me and said, I have a good friend of mine called James Kermack who's wants to make an action movie. Are you up for it? So I read the script and I read it and I was like, Jesus, this is ambitious. Whoa, where is this going? There's layers upon layers of what's going on. Whoa, who is this? Who is this character? This is a challenge. Oh, he wants to put fights here, there. I was like, let me talk to the man. And then I met James in London, and we bonded over Charles Bukowski. That's it, game over. We were done, and we bonded, you know. And I looked up James, and I looked up his movie High Low Joe, which dealt with mental health, and thought it was a very brave film. And what really got me in was meeting James himself and seeing how James spoke about the experience, the cast from High Low Joe, the crew, how he was interviewed, how he spoke about them, how loyal he was, how brave he was to get this movie over the line. And I just said, that's a man I want to work with. This is incredibly ambitious. This cerebral thriller, half action movie, kung fu. He's got Pete Pedrero doing the fights, but he's also got a sort of Usual Suspects vibe. And how do you get the audience on the side of this character called Hard Eight when all this crazy stuff is happening around him? So meeting James and you know, flowing from and vibing off of him, I just thought, I have to do it. It's a challenge. And also this is the guy I want to work with because he seems very patient. He knows exactly what he wants. He's a visionary. We love the same movies. I was in. And I'm from Ireland.
And that's how you cast Moe Dunford, for anyone who wants to know. It's that simple.
James, you're the writer-director on this, and as Mo keeps on saying, and Mo's said, and I've said a few times, it's a nuts movie. Where did Knuckledust come from, and what exactly were you taking when you wrote it?
I've done a lot of drugs for the last decade of working on this film. Yeah, it came from originally. I started out as an actor in theatre, and then moved into film and TV. And it started out as a vehicle for myself. So I tried to write something for myself to be in, and it developed from there. And I got a few good meetings, and I got some really good advice from a guy called Rob Mitchell, who passed recently, very sadly. He was a really good guy in the business, and basically sat me down, bought me a few beers and a couple of wines, and kind of said, I love this script. It's one of the best scripts I've ever read. It's mental. It's amazing. You can't play the lead, but it's amazing. And I was kind of like, Jesus Christ, I've spent all this time working on this script, trying to write something for myself, expecting some kind of Rocky Stallone kind of adventure to write a biography about in many years, when I'm doing, Knuckledust 18 with a, 80-year-old, 90-year-old cast. But he basically gave me the advice, write yourself a supporting role, get a really good lead actor and a cast around you, and then go from there. I was a bit upset at the time, but I thought, you know what? that's a good idea. I'm going to really push on this and take more creative control. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to direct it. This was after we went through talking to quite a few directors, one of whom, for instance, was Tony Kaye, who did American History X. Amazing director. He was really interested in doing it, shooting it out in LA. And at the time, I was still attached as the actor. So I did a self-tape for myself, bloodied up myself, and, you know, shot something I thought looked really cool. And he hadn't watched it yet. So we were actually Zooming whilst he was in LA, pre-Zoom, I think Skype. And he said, oh, you know, I'm just going to look at this self-tape then. So he's watching the self-tape for the first time while I'm watching him watch the self-tape. And I was like, Jesus. And he was going, I was like, am I about to lose a job that I've given myself while I'm watching it, doing a bad audition? I was like, Jesus Christ, it was the most nerve-wracking thing. And then and he basically said, yeah, you know what, I can work with you. Let's do this. So I was like, fantastic. And then that sadly didn't work out. And so I ended up taking the reins myself. But much as no one would hire me to play the lead in it, no one was going to hire me to direct it. So because it was too mad and too big. And so I decided to go direct Hilo, which was something much smaller, more dramatic, not action-based, to prove that I could direct a feature film and handle it. Mm-hmm. And that came out. And then people were kind of like, well, you obviously can't jump from this drama to an action film. That makes no sense. So it was kind of like, right, okay, but I've already done the feature now to prove that I could do a feature. Right, let's start again. So we just started again and went from there, really. And so it's just been 5 years with my current producer, Julien, who's fantastic, pushing for the film, and then finally got it over the line. So it's been like a 10-year journey, I think. It's been long, but I mean, it's finally over the line. It's there, and we're here chatting about it now. So it's fantastic.
we finished filming like this time last year, you know, so it was a year ago. We had no idea that the whole year would happen. I mean, you talk about how crazy the script is, but we haven't spoken about how crazy this year is. So, the script is normal day life compared to, you know, this crazy year we've had. So, you know, come here, it's completely normal.
2020 does smack of.
It's the new kitchen sink drama of the future. You know what I mean? You know, that's what I mean. That's what James made me to believe when I signed up to this.
Yeah, it's nil by mouth with dildos.
I was just going to say. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Words.
You said before that. I worked in the video store, so I saw all those movies. And was there any sort of movies from? And you said that you've worked in the video store as well. So, like, was there any movies back then that you sort of drew on and you were like inspired by when writing this?
Yeah, I mean, I found an old script, my first ever script, when we were moving house recently. And I must have been 15, 16 when I was writing it. And there are character names in it from Knuckledust now, and a lot of twists and stuff. And I think I just watched Usual Suspects, which is obviously a huge influence on the film. But like 90s wise, I mean, it gets a lot of, people say Guy Ritchie quite a lot and stuff like that. But many of the influences actually were a lot earlier, so it was more 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So you're looking at more, you know, the John Carpenter kind of vibe. And for like the visuals, one of my favorite films is Streets of Fire. Have you ever seen that? A Walter Hill film.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like part musical, part action. It's set in kind of like this nowhere time where it mixes with the 50s and the 80s. And that's a really big influence on Knuckledust, because that's kind of what we tried to push for, where the costumes and the production design has a kind of otherworldliness to it. Yeah. And so, yeah, Streets of Fire, John Carpenter stuff. And obviously, yeah, there's the Tarantino, Guy Ritchie, Usual Suspects kind of 90s element to it too.
It's one of those things that when I was writing the review, and I even put that in there about the Tarantino and the Rodriguez, the Guy Ritchie and everything. It's just such an easy thing to go to, but when you're saying about like the John Carpenter side of things, you're completely right. And something that springs to mind with that is like the way he uses music as well. Like his music doesn't always match up with your genre kind of thing. And here you have the thing that springs to mind right now is the fight with TikTok.
Yes.
Like the music comes on and it's like you're watching a Western, but you're about to watch two guys just start smacking crap out of each other. You know, it's
Walter Mayer's composition for this is awesome. I saw it last week.
It's unreal.
Walter Mayer's one. Him together with it's Natasha, the editor.
What, the editor? Yes.
Yeah, Natasha. Well, when the two of them together, you see it. It's amazing how they work together and reflect James's script, but also with the scores. It's like I saw. You love The Great Escape. I felt there's a little bit of Great Escape whenever Hooper comes on, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot in there. If you're a true movie fan, you'll catch a lot of the little. And I mean, even
one. It was Great Escape.
I even like the cheeky little jibe when Hard Eight first comes to his first battle, his first fight, and it kind of kicks off the whole movie, which I am assuming is an Indiana Jones little moment.
Yeah, there's a little nod.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just you pick up on all these things. It's just such a fantastic way you've done it. But the score, I love the movie as is, but the score very much elevates certain scenes, and that's one of them that I picked up on. I loved.
It really does. I mean, Walter did a fantastic job. Also, you know, kind of like much like every HOD, when I kind of ask, or the actors, when I ask for something, and they're like, okay, let's go with that. I mean, I had a playlist for Walter. I mean, I had a playlist for 2 years, which I'd worked on and been adding on to each time. And I came in with a full playlist with, you know, a couple of tracks for each moment. And Walter was like, fantastic. You know, we got to work on a really big Morricone style track for the big action finale, which we're super happy about because we're both really big Morricone fans. And there were lots of nice little Carpenter touches, Untouchables, Great Escape, of course. There was a lot of different stuff in there where we were kind of like, okay, let's have a little play and let's see, you know, who. I mean, it's a film for film fans. You know, it is a movie, but it's a film for film fans, and I'm a huge film fan, and so there are lots of little nods in there for kind of everyone. I think.
It shows. It absolutely shows on screen. When you have your script ready and you're happy with it and everything, we've figured out how sort of Moe came onto the movie and everything, but you have got a fantastic eclectic cast of people in here, like people that you possibly haven't seen for a little while, people who are on the up, people who are very much just in the limelight right now. Just a fantastic little cast that you've got. How did you go about getting these people? And was it sort of, you had them in mind when you were writing it, or was it like, let's see who we can get?
It was I kind of picked them up as I've gone along and then really held tightly onto them and kept going back to them. And so, you know, with like casting, it was kind of, again, I knew I really wanted to direct a huge ensemble, and it goes back to like The Great Escape again, or you know, like Towering Inferno, or again, it's the 70s and the 80s, you know, and those kind of casts where you'd see the names in squares, or you'd see the Drew Struzan kind of poster, which we just put out. And I really wanted to do that, where it's that kind of big eclectic cast, and you go, I know them from this, and I love them in this. So it's something for everyone. And so basically, I just picked them up as I've gone along, like Gethin Anthony, who plays Jeremiah. I've known him for over a decade. We did theatre together. He's one of my best pals. So I've kept him there for a very long time. He was one of the first to come on board. Kate Dickey and Phil Davis came because we premiered my first feature at the Dinard Film Festival in France. And I was one of the judges on a short film panel. I met Kate, met Phil, and I knew, I was like, God, I've got to ask them if they want to read Knuckledust. You know, had a beer with them after all the judging had been done, so there was no, you know, weirdness. And, hey, do you want to be in my film? I'm judging the film.
I can picture it.
Pro quo, guys. So that was all out of the way, but basically, you know, kind of said to them how much I love their work. And, you know, with Phil Davis, I basically said to him, look, do you want to read this script? And he was like, I'd love to read the script. Fantastic. And I was like, great. I'm going to tell you now for 30 minutes how good I think you are and how brilliant you are in Face, which is one of my favorite films. Yeah. And then I'm never going to do it again, I promise. And I'll be super professional. And he was like, okay. And I was like, you're brilliant in Face. It's so good. The bit with Ray Winston and all this. And he's been super awesome. So he stayed, and Kate stayed for like 3 years, you know, 4 years waiting on the project. Constantly, you know, once a year getting back and just, hey, how's it going, Knuckledust? And, you know, that mad little script. And that's kind of how I went about the whole thing. Alex Ferns, I met.
Oh, man.
He's amazing. And
unreal.
he's just phenomenal. And we've got a mutual friend, Moe and Alex, Eugene O'Hare, who's an absolutely fantastic writer and actor in his own right. He's just one of the best writers ever. And I went to see him and Alex Ferns in True West, the Sam Shepard play at the Tricycle a couple of years ago. Phenomenal play, and they were just unbelievable. And then I turned up on the set at the airport for the set of Chernobyl, the HBO show, and all my scenes were with Alex. Nice. And so we had to get naked together. So we bonded over penis size, which, funnily enough, he did a whole article in the I think Scottish Mail or something about talking about penis size with another actor, and I was like, I'm in the photo. So basically, and I was like, do you want to read this script? And he was like, yeah, of course. He's an absolute legend. And then we got him literally just before, Batman and Star Wars and the new Guy Ritchie's done the new Guy Ritchie film, Jason Statham, Cash-Truck. So, his career's just like gone amazing. So we're really lucky to have just picked him up as we did. I don't think we just couldn't book him now. He's too big. He's godfather to my daughter, but he's massive.
True. It's true.
So and that's how we kind of picked everyone up. Amy Bailey has been a friend of mine for a really long time. She read the script in a Costa about 7 years ago, when I couldn't afford coffee in the Costa. But it's just kind of picked up that way.
How'd you get Sebastian?
So Sebastian came on board for a good pal of mine who I met through Amy, called Tony Webb, really lovely guy. And he set up the meeting, and Seb walked in. I mean, I'm a huge Sebastian fan. I saw Casino Royale at the cast and crew when it came out in town, and it just I hadn't seen a Bond film in a long time, which I loved. And it just blew me away. I thought it was so good. And Seb's amazing. And as soon as you meet him, he's so chill, and his energy and his positivity and his heart is just there, and it warms the whole room. Yes. And then we just talked about how I wanted to do the fight sequences, each sequence as a musical theatre number, like a musical number. And I see everything with the music. And we discussed Singing in the Rain, which we both love. And I said, that's exactly how I'd like to do, the TikTok fight. It's a musical number. So let's really look at that, feel the beat. And that's what he is. He moves musically. It's fantastic. So that's how Seb came on board. So I was very chuffed with that, because he's brilliant in the film.
He is great, and he's kind of the forefather of free running as well from back in the day. And as you say, Casino Royale, we had a new Bond coming out. They said it was going to be fresh, it was going to be revitalized, and here's Sebastian free running over bloody cranes and stuff, and you're like, yes, you're sitting there thinking, this is a new Bond.
I haven't seen this. More did this.
I'd never seen anything like that in my life. None of us have ever seen an action scene like that in our lives. A chase scene in our lives. Like, you go, who is that guy? That's another story about how I first met Sebastian. Jesus. I met him on my first day of rehearsals for the fights. And they said, right, we've booked you a train out to Bedford because for whatever reasons we can't do the rehearsals in London. I was like, what, Bedford? Really? You could bring me all the way to Bedford? No way am I going to Bedford and back every day. I was like, get me out to Bedford. Well, I went out to Bedford anyway. I stayed there for 3 nights. They open up this shed door when we find the place, and there's Sebastian with his Bruce Lee t-shirt on. And nice. Peter Pedrero's there. And Sebastian is there working through his beats. He's talking. I remember him going, I wanted to be like Singing in the Rain. You know what I mean? I go, oh shit, what have I got myself into? I'm nervous. And Sebastian is there like, let's begin. And he's amazing, man.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Amazing.
The combat in this flick, I loved. A big fan of. I love a good punchy kicky movie. You can give me all the dialogue in the world, but as long as you're giving me some punchy kicky stuff, I'm also really happy as well. And you guys had an incredible team behind this, and I saw there was numerous guys, including Mr. Neil Chapel. Yeah, who he needs no introduction. I've seen a ton of things that he's worked on, and I've spoken to a ton of people who have worked with him.
Yes.
What was it like for you guys doing the fight choreography, James yourself directing it, but also Moe getting to do all the punches and kicks? And because who doesn't love just having a good fight?
Moe?
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, as I said earlier, a big part of this was working with James, working with him as a director, seeing what he wanted, and the other half then is what he had written into the fights and saying, right, we got Pete Pedrero here, we got his team, we've got Sebastian Foucan, we've got Olivia Richters, we've got all these amazing people, we've got Guillaume Delany, and that was really exciting for me to work with a team, because yes, I've done Vikings and I've worked with good swordsmen and Richard Ryan and these great stuntmen, but I never did something that was as visceral and as out there as this. But it was just working with the team, man, and how to tell a story, how to tell a narrative, and how to make the punches count where the audiences feel it. And James always said, you know, we don't want to make this look choreographed. We want to make this look like it's happening right now. We want to make this look like it's just made up on the spot. So when you're dealing with Sebastian, I think working with those guys and Peter's excitement, it was a joy. Those first 3 days were like, if you're lucky as an actor, you get to maybe rehearse and talk to the director and build up a rapport, which me and James had. But as well as that, James was like, right, buddy, you're going to have to bed for it. And I'm like, all right, have a good time. But it also, because we're like 5 days away from shooting the thing, it gave us a real groundedness, because there was something going over the repetition of the movements, of going, each time we do this and each time we get better, by the time you come to shoot, and by the time you shoot with Kate as Keaton, you will already feel like you've achieved something, you know. So you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I remember there was this one day where I really look up to Sebastian. You know, my son is doing parkour right now, you know, off steps and things, you know, and he thought it was cool that I worked with Sebastian.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember there was one day, you know, actors being actors are silly, but trying to break the ice, whatever. I said, yo, they're making a new Matrix, you know, Sebastian, you would be great in this. He kind of looked at me, he was like, why would I do that? I said, we got your action and you do all of that and it's happening. Why would I want to do this? I said, I don't know. I said, I've tried, Casino Royale came out, I've done this, I've done movies here, I've worked there, I've been to acting coaching, I've went to lessons, I've done Hollywood movies. But I've been in the cafeteria and I've seen people look down their nose at the water dispenser, the coffee machine, treating people like they're lower than them. Why do I want to be involved in movies? I don't want to be part of that scene. I don't want to be involved in that scene. He says, I'm interested in this. I said, what is this? And he goes, I'm interested in this. This is this. And I said, well, what is this? I said, this is this. In the moment, trying to overcome, looking the other person in the eye, right here, right now, looking over in the moment, take by take, trying to overcome the next thing. It's me and you. We're in it together. We'll carry it for the rest of our lives. There's no past. There's no future. There's just now. And I'm like, I want some of what you're having, man. I want some of what you're having. Because like when you're doing the scenes then, and when you're doing Knuckledust, you don't worry about what's happening next. You don't worry about what you've done. You're worried about, you're focused on James's vision here and now, making sense of this world building which James has created, making sense of TikTok and the costumes and staying grounded. And the fights beforehand, training for the fights were so good because it grounded the character of Brody, and working with Sebastian. Oh man, talking about the larger than life characters that exist within James's script. I mean, yes, that's essential, but the larger than life characters who I met on the job. You talk Jamie Winstone, badass. What you see is what you get. She is just awesome. Awesome. You look at her and you go, fucking cast her and everything. You know,
seriously, she's amazing.
Oh, amazing. Guillaume as Tombstone, you could have cast, and I know you talked about this, and it's another conversation about casting, but he has such a strength, but such a vulnerability to him. I want to work with him for the rest of my life. Sebastian, all of these interesting characters. Alex Ferns, who is now a really close friend of mine, larger than life characters. So working with Peter Pedrero and that really informed the characters and how to bring it into with Kate scenes, and I felt ready to do that full week with the interrogation with Kate Dickey. And I mean, what can I say? I was I was spoiled, man. It's like she's a guardian angel who looks after you in that scene. We did a full week and a half together. It was just day in, day out, and interrogation, heavy stuff, a lot of lines. And just, she's the most humane, generous actor. I was just spoiled. I love her to bits. So it was a joy, man, you know? What can I say?
On the back of what Mo just said, two things. So Guillaume, I think he plays obviously a lot of, like he played Frankenstein's monster, Victor Frankenstein and stuff, you know? And I think one of the things, because of his size, one of the things that gets missed with him is his soul and heart. He has so much heart, and he's just got so much radiating out of him. He's a really good person. And it's one of the reasons I really love him in the role, because when you look in his eyes, there's so much going on. And I think some people have probably just looked at his size and his build and gone, that's what that is. Whereas in fact, there's so much going on. He is a fantastic actor, a really skilled, brilliant actor. And I really hope that he gets more acting roles out of this, because not only did he use his size, he then didn't speak and only did sign language to communicate. I mean, it's a hell of a role for him, and he delivered it really, really well. And then with regards to the stunts and the fights, which I'm really glad you liked, and obviously a lot of the feedback is coming back that the fights are fantastic and that they really stand out, which I'm very happy about. I think Pete and his team did a fantastic job. And from the very beginning, me and Pete had that discussion, because I really didn't want slick John Wick, style fights. I wanted something where it felt like the chat was that whatever hard eight Brody kind of walked into, he had to kind of change tact and go with it. So people didn't, because you see in a lot of these films, I find that the bad guys tend to kind of adapt to the good guy. So the bad guys adapt to kind of John Wick, and you have this fighting style that happens throughout the film. Whereas what I really wanted was a slightly scrappier, grungier kind of fighting, where it looks painful, it looks in the moment, and it looks less coordinated. So you have those kind of moments during the dildo fight where, Mo breaks during
something. Sorry, go on.
Please, don't worry. Imagine pitching this every time. I'm amazed we got funded. And the bit where Mo cracks someone's leg open and the camera flips, and it just kind of feels like, this is just happening in the moment, right? They've just got one camera and just filmed it. I mean, this looks insane. So Pete and his team did an absolutely fantastic job. They were really good on set, and they really nailed what I asked for, which I really appreciate, as did every HOD. Everyone did exactly what I tried to achieve with the vision and with the script. So I was really appreciative of that across the board.
And as well as that, just to add, because I know I went into other territory there, but about the fights, Peter, Neil, Miguel, who I've just seen an officer down, by the way, that Neil did. It's fantastic. The action thing. I know you reviewed it the other day.
It's great shot.
Really great piece. Peter saw me walking in from the taxi after I got lost, like a rabbit in the headlights, whatever. He goes, right, this guy isn't, what's the name of the guy? Scott Adkins, or these guys who, they look like they could take care of you. We have Brody, who describes how he kicked ass in the club. But in the flashbacks, we have the realization, actually, Brody's getting his ass kicked. And Peter was like, yeah, you're that guy, So he was like, as opposed to, we talked a lot about Harrison Ford. We talked a lot about how he just scrapes by the end of it. And I chatted a lot to James about that. And we all found that, right, there's this Brody character who's telling the tale. But in reality, there's this other comedic part that you're just getting by the skin of your teeth. Because I love seeing that. And Peter was able to implement that in a way that made it visceral, made it exciting, made it just when he's about to he gets a fire extinguisher, you know what I mean? So I love that, because it, and Sebastian was all into that because it's the Fred Astaire or whatever. It's so much fun. Gene Kelly, yeah.
I mean, the thing is as well, you have to have that for this to work. The way the structure of the film works, Brody's being interrogated. We're flashbacking to the fights. Yeah. If he looks like he's going to just steam through every fight, then no fights have any point, because even though as an audience member he's alive and he's talking right now, in each fight you have to feel like he might not make this, even though
I love that moment as well when it's so fantastic. It's such you have amazing little character beats in this movie, and I want to talk about a couple of them. But when you have the tech guy sort of sitting there watching the fight, and then he turns around and goes, "I wonder if he'll survive." I absolutely love that moment because you're just sitting there thinking, "What?" And then you get Jamie Winston sort of looking at him thinking, "What?" just little character moments like that. It's
if anyone's going to make you feel like a dope, Jamie Winston
looking at you,
you feel that chain. Yeah,
he's done a really good job. Obviously, it's his first feature, Dave Bibby.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up comedian, but he did self-tapes for the film, and they were so good, and he really made the effort on them, and he shot them. He shot the scenes in the car and he shot the stuff at the computer, and he shot it like we're on a Zoom now, so he was like that, doing his monologue. He did a great job, I think. Bibby is, surrounded by really established, really experienced actors, and I think he really stepped up. So I'm really glad you love those little touches from him because he delivered them so well.
Oh, he does, and there's a lot more of them. Touching on Tombstone, there you're talking about the fact that he's not talking much and he's doing the sign language. One of my favorite moments in the movie is actually the moment between Moe and him when you're sign languaging together. But Moe, it's your little laugh when he says about not having to listen to them and all this. Your little laugh there is one of those moments that sells your character, but also helps to sell his character as well. So then when you get to the elevator fight, you're all in. You're in for the ride.
It's interesting, man. It's interesting. James's brain. James's brain is interesting. No, when you read the script and you go, because you have your fights, but then you also have your 3 weeks prep and sign language,
Yeah.
What I mean? But when you read it, you don't know how something like that would connect. But I genuinely do feel like there's a thing about Brody and the character of Brody. You go, well, what is this guy doing it for? Well, there's an upper class, there's an upper echelon, and they are spitting and looking down on this other class, these homeless vets, these downtrodden people, and people like Guillaume's character, Tombstone's character, and there's just something about the vulnerability of Guillaume that when he does this with his hands, I couldn't not but laugh. You know what I mean? I'm like, my brother. You know what I mean? He's beautiful. He's beautiful. But I like the switches in the characters. I love when Dave turns from his comedic self to another layer shows, and I love what he did there. I love how he could be comedic and really grounded, and I love without giving anything away.
So difficult to talk about the film.
But one scene without spoiling anything that I do want to talk about, and you kind of glossed over it before a little bit, and it's how exactly do you approach a gimp wearing, dildo throwing fight sequence in that hallway? Because I was trying to tell someone about this movie, and I came to that scene and I was like, you just have to watch it for this one scene. And they're like, why? So I explained kind of what's going on, and I'm like, but it looks like it's in Old Boy. And who doesn't like that scene in Old Boy? Who doesn't like the hallway scene in Daredevil? But think of that in gimp suits. When you wrote that, how did you actually approach filming it?
It's a really good question. How do you approach it?
Because it's something that I would think that when I wrote it, oh yeah, that looks badass. That's going to be amazing. But then when you come and film it, it's like, what was I thinking when I wrote this?
I don't know. You know what? I'm going to have to go back through the drafts and see when that was added in, and then look back maybe through my phone or my Facebook or whatever, and see what I was up to at the time, or what I was on. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously inspired. There is inspiration there from Old Boy. I mean, fights in corridors are great because there's such tight spaces. So the idea as well is to, as the film goes, is to go from that massive opening arena fight, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller every time he moves down the floors. Each fight gets into a smaller space. So we go from that. the big space, and then we're in the corridor, I think, and then we go to the elevator, and it gets smaller and smaller each time to make it more impactful. But yeah, I don't know where it came from. I just had the idea of like what haven't I seen on screen before? And obviously the other thing was it's a club for elite people. So what do you have there? You have the killing of the poor, you have drugs, and you have sex. And I was just kind of like, okay, so what do we do with the sex? And then it came with the S&M, and I was kind of like, okay, what do they fight with? Because the idea was, if they're in an S&M room, what do you pick up? It's that Born Identity kind of thing, he uses what's in the room. So there's a kind of inspiration there when he picks up the pen or the pencil or the newspaper or the magazine. So it's like, well, we have dildos. But would they be prepared for certain fights if they're also badasses? So they'd probably have dildo nunchucks. Yes, so let's go with dildo nunchucks. And so it just came from there, like, what haven't I seen before? And
I'd never seen that in Ireland, I tell you that. Sign me up. No.
When you've written it, and there's a lot of scenes in this that, because it's a hyper realistic movie, it's set in a world that isn't of this one, and it's kind of just like, how important was it for you to not go too far that way or not go too far this way? Because there's a lot of scenarios in this film and a lot of characters in this film. It could very easily have become just a straight up farce, and this movie knows exactly what it is and where it needs to be. But how important was it to skirt that line for you?
It was tough. I mean, like, really gone all out on the film to try and make something that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Which means you cross-genring quite a lot. And really, usually with these kind of films, with the tone of the comedy, you won't go as serious as we go. So the Kate Dickie and Moe Dunford scenes, those scenes in the interrogation they get real deep, they get real serious. And then it cuts back and forth between, Moe walking into a room with two, geezers with strap-ons. It's a juxtaposition that you have to get used to. But it was fun to try and get that done. It's fun to try and really push against the genres, see where they merge, see where they intertwine, and have that kind of shock moments as well, where you've just been in quite a serious sequence, and then suddenly you get a cowboy walks on. You're kind of like, okay, cool. We got a cowboy. I'm up for this. So it was really fun, to be honest. I mean, it's difficult. You really, that's when Natasha and Chris did a great job with the edit, and the music really helped as well. And the same with the production design and the costume. All that kind of stuff that kind of merged it all together. And Pat Aldinger's cinematography as well. That giving it that look that follows all the way through. Even when we're in the police station and it's a bit more naturalized, it's still got that neon kind of slightly Blade Runner kind of esque feel to it. So you needed all of these things, all of these HODs in their departments to bring that all together along with the cast for the script to be able to work in that way.
We shot in Harrow for the first week for the interrogation. Walking onto set with Kate, it was very, there was a green hue, and these three great German team of guys led by Pat. It was wonderful guys. You're like, these guys are different. They had their own sort of thing, and it felt like graphic novel, otherworldly, sort of Eastern European, sort of Germanesque. And then with the decrepit sort of locations with a little neon hue, there was a Blade Runner feel, and how that integrated with Cynthia's costume choices. But then there's the first week was very serious and very intense with Kate, and then all of a sudden we're in the hallways, and we know what happens then. We know what we see. But there's an undercurrent with this movie that, James, I don't think you get enough credit for it. Is James is McCready. He's the everyman. He's really relatable in the script, with his story with his wife that's going through it, and how good he is as McCready, how natural he is when he's off the lines, when he's getting out of the elevators, when he is so good as McCready that it's relatable. There's all these different things, the seriousness of Hard Age, the hyper real comedy, but then McCready's through line. Yeah, loved how they meshed together.
The fact of the matter is, the punches and the kicks and everything are fantastic, and they don't really, for me, as a viewer, it might not have landed as well in those scenes, the hyper real bits, without the interrogation stuff. The interrogation stuff is just insanely good, and your monologuing alongside Kate Dickie is just incredible, and you have a very natural chemistry with her on screen that just floats across. And I had the chance to meet Kate about 6 years ago at a Comic-Con, and I got like 5 minutes to talk with her. Literally my first ever interview for the podcast. Absolutely bricking it. Had a couple of pints at the bar before I went and spoke to her. And within about 2 seconds, it was like I was just talking to an old friend, really. She's just that way inclined.
Amazing.
So, what was it like working alongside her and monologuing the life out of each other?
Incredible. I couldn't ask for more. I can't say enough good things. Loved her. You know, it was tough going in straight in for this long week and a half or week of interrogation, and she was just, I couldn't ask for more. The movie would be so different had it not been for doing that week with Kate, because she gives so much. And in a way, both of the characters, Kate's character Keaton, you know, is trying to reveal Brody for who he is and vice versa. But Kate being Kate, because as you say, within 2 seconds of talking to her, you're like, I know this person my whole life. So that added energy feels like a comfort blanket, where she's actually feels like she's cradling you. And that, to me, it's just, she's just beautiful. She's wonderful. You know, she's amazing. It grounded it for me. No matter what happened after that week in the fight scenes and everything that happened in flashbacks and all that, I wanted to respect what me and Kate had done, because she was just so giving as an actor. I love her to bits. Everything you said and more. She's amazing.
I think as well the moment for me, and I'm sure James, I've been on film sets where I've seen things happen, and you see a director looking at like his DOP and being like, "Oh man, we've got some fucking gold here." But the scene where Moe sort of, without spoilers, breaks down on Kate after they've kind of been loggerheads against each other, and you kind of break down against a shoulder, and I'm just sitting there thinking, this is just, you know what I mean? 2 minutes ago, somebody slapping someone with a dildo, and now you've got me feeling something else.
Yeah, man, it was such an interesting journey for the two characters, and like quite easily it could have been, which is the opposite of what I wanted. Again, is two people sat in a room. You know, it's kind of Criminal Minds kind of TV procedural where we interview and so on and so forth. What I really wanted was a complete journey for the two characters. And you probably noticed it, but what they actually end up doing is, you know, they end up moving right around the room during this interview and then swapping seats. Yeah. So by the end of it, he's in the position of where she originally was doing the interrogation, and then she's on the opposite side. And so you have this physical and physical journey for them, as well as the character development, and they were just fantastic. I mean, that scene as well, I mean, everything we shot the editor kept saying like, oh, is this 2 days worth of stuff that she got? And they were like, no, it's 1 day, it's 1 day's worth of stuff. Because the film is massive. I mean, what we shot it in 5 weeks, and it is a huge film for what budget we had and how long we had. And so these scenes where they were going quick, and I don't like to shoot too much anyway, so we did 2 to 3 takes on each thing, and I think we originally shot that scene in a one-er. No. So I shot 2 one-ers, and that's what we cut together, is 2 one-ers, and that was it. And that was just fantastic, because you suddenly went from this very cool kind of icy interrogation to this moment that, again, I've personally not seen in a film. With the interrogation. So again, it was that thing of how do I develop this to a point that maybe I haven't seen this on screen before, and it'd be something that is new in something that is a tried and tested, the police interrogation with the criminal sequence. So that was kind of the idea.
It was very surprising. Very surprising, Kev, because you assume interrogation is 2 shots, over the table for the whole time, But James is like, no, we're going to get you up, and by the end of this, you're going to be like two children sitting against the wall. And we felt like two kids sitting against the wall having cans, me and Kate. I was like, this is great crack, isn't it? What's my line? No, this is great, you know?
The film's out there, but I couldn't get two cans in the scene. It just wouldn't. That's right. The dildos was far enough. I couldn't get super special brews or something.
This is the serious part of the movie. We can't quite do that. It's just I love that scene. I love just everything you guys are doing on there. I'm not going to take up overly too much more of your time. You've been very, very, very gracious with your time tonight. The movie does come out tomorrow, so well, by the time this goes out, it'll be out. But the movie does come out on Friday the 11th, which is also Mo's birthday, I believe. So happy birthday, Mo!
Thank you very much.
You'll be another year older by the time we get to this interview. But
I'm still 32. This year doesn't count.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. So
I'm still in that cell, sitting down having 2 cans. I'm still waiting for those 2 cans.
You guys filmed this in 5 weeks. You had the script and the movie you were pushing around for a good 5 years. You've had the idea for a good 10 years. How does it feel now for you guys that the film is out there for people to see and receive it the way they are?
For me, it feels fantastic. I mean, it's a huge weight off. And I feel like I can move forward with a new project and be really excited, because Knuckledust has just always been there for such a long time, and trying to get it through, and then trying to get it finished, and the COVID hit, and suddenly nothing was as I expected it to be. So it's really good. I mean, all the reactions are so varied, and different people pick up on different things that they like and or don't like, and all of it is good. I'll be honest. You just kind of like, I made the film to push buttons as well. I didn't want to make a very safe film. I really wanted to go for it and go, do you know what can we do here that I haven't seen before? Or, what can I throw at this where you kind of go, this doesn't, people don't usually mix these two things. And I'm kind of like, let's fucking try it. Let's fucking get it on screen and see what happens, So I feel really good about it. So, my fiance is looking forward to me not talking about Knuckledust anymore. So that's good. But yeah, it's just been it's a pleasure and a joy, forever now. I'm attached to Mo and Kate and Jamie and Phil and all these wonderful human beings in this film. And I'm really hoping, it's, if anything, it's the film that people say you have to watch it for the dildo fight. I'm good with that. If that's on my tombstone, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Great husband, great father, great son. You have to watch it for the dildo fight.
and Mo, how was it for you getting this film out there and showing
Right.
everyone your chops?
Right. I'm delighted with it, man. I love getting it out there. I mean, what people tend to forget is how much effort goes into making a movie like this, and how many sleepless nights, and the work that James has put in, the years that James has put in. And Lucy, his fiance, also worked on this in hair and makeup and was on board. And people forget the joy which can come from just doing it. What I learned from Sebastian, I'm so glad I listened to him. It's about now, and it's about the characters you meet, and it's about putting a smile on someone's face that you go, you know what, we're in a pandemic. We just want to see a fight scene. We just want to enjoy that moment of sign language or a laugh. We just want that, because that's what we need right now. And that journey of going on that journey with people who are essentially filming a 10-week shoot in a 5-week shoot. And you've got people giddy, you've got references to Point Break. You've got the Armourer Steve going, mate, you just did Point Break there. I'm like, it doesn't matter. We don't have time. Just carry on, continue.
Keep going.
And that last few moments you have in the day to try and make this, I love it. I love the journey. I love watching James. I love watching James from afar. That sounds very strange. I like watching James going from McCready to his directing thing, going from McCready and putting on his cans. He's like fucking Stallone. He's like, he knows exactly what he has to do, and then he's so focused. He does his Eastwood. He gives you 2 takes, and he's so patient. And it's my idea of collaboration, making movies, working with this man. We all love him. We couldn't ask for a better director as an actor. I love the process, and I hope people enjoy it.
Awesome, awesome. And a little while back, Mo, you mentioned about the world building that's going on in this. I wouldn't be a very good interviewer or a very good film fan if I didn't ask this next question. There is a very rich world here. There are some very rich characters. Are we going to see a Knuckledust 2? Are you working on one, or is it just like it's out there? Let's let it breathe.
For the moment, it's have to see how it does, I guess. It's been nice. A few people have asked, which is really good. But it's been planned for a while. The entire world and how a trilogy would work. A really kind of grindhouse, kind of street level, kind of gritty, kind of little trilogy, a little British trilogy. And so yeah, there's ideas there, and I pitched a few to Mo. He seems to quite like them. I think one of the other things we were looking at is maybe doing some graphic novels.
Nice.
Based on the characters and stuff, and there's so many good characters in there, and some of them we only meet for a short period of time. I mean, I think the backstory of TikTok is fascinating.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously I wrote it, it's hilarious and brilliant, but I think it would be fascinating to see where they came from and where they're going, and I think that would be the dream, is to carry it on. I know I'd love to get back on a set with Mo and Kate and people like that. We just have to see how it does, really, I guess.
So certain someone, without any spoilers, got in the lift. So
yes.
Oh, we haven't even chatted about Chris.
Yeah. Let's talk about Chris quickly. Yeah. Chris is unbelievable. He's so good. And I met Chris. I did, as an actor, I did a show called Of Mice and Men, the John Steinbeck, based on the John Steinbeck book. And I played George in that. And he played Curly, which is a very angry, funny little American man. Mm-hmm. And I started working on Not Now Nigel. And I thought, how do I get a very funny, angry little Irish man? And then I thought, Chris, this is perfect. And if you've ever watched The Football with Chris, it's the funniest thing you've ever seen. It's like pure Nigel. So I wrote this part towards Chris. He's fantastic in it. He gets so vexed and he screams at the screen and just shouts at players who obviously can't hear him. And then he sits down with his beer and then he's just like, it is what it is. And you're just kind of like, yeah, I could write a part for that. He's so funny in this, and
so warm.
The amazing things is he's a really dark character. Like, he cuts bodies up.
Yeah.
And then Jeremiah, his boss, is a real piece of shit. And at the end, we found that a lot of people do really feel for them, and you have like a lot of kind of like, oh no, but I quite like them, even though he's obviously chopping up bodies and he's a real piece of shit. But I quite like these guys, which I think is testament to Gethin and Chris and the way they portray the characters, and really give them a lot of heart and life.
On Gethin, really quickly, did you ever discuss with him where this character came from? Because this is such I keep talking about you taking characters from like other worlds and plopping them in this movie. He's such a random character to be in this film, but he works. He works so well, especially with Not Now Nigel. The two of their performances together are just unbelievably brilliant. But it's like you've taken this guy who's just so 80s. Yes. And just slammed him into this film, and I'm just sitting there thinking, what is he channeling here? What is he? But I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like, I wanted a henchman I wanted a great henchman, and all the great henchmen are from the 80s.
Yeah.
Al Long in Die Hard, when he goes for the candy bar, Al Long in Big Trouble in Little China. All these cool henchmen, the Bond films of like Jaws in the Roger Moore ones, like all these 80s henchmen. And I thought, I really want a cool 80s henchman. And I thought, well, let's just have an 80s henchman. That's fine. And so, yeah, we went for the mullet and the mustache, which I absolutely love him in. Again, his fiance was not too happy with the mustache. But it is what it is, bless her. She dealt with it for a few weeks, which was really lovely of her. And then Cynthia's costumes for him were unbelievable, because I gave everyone kind of reference books of what I wanted to look like, and I had pictures of Don Johnson in Miami Vice, and
big time.
Tom Selleck in Magnum PI and stuff like that. And she went to town on him. I think he looks fantastic. So yeah, he's just basically an 80s henchman from Die Hard or Miami Vice, and I've just put him in this film.
Awesome. And we talked about Jamie a little while back. She has quite possibly one of my favorite arcs in the whole movie, because what you think is going on with her character ends up being the best joke of the film. Just I was just, when that happens towards the end, I was just like, oh, what?
Yeah, she's fantastic. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't think she's ever played a copper before. So it's super interesting for her. I don't think she's ever done that. And so she was a real badass. And when we looked at costume with her, you know, she's in like quite high-heeled boots. She looks like epically cool and super badass. And also she's like I think she's a sergeant in the film and I'm a detective, but she absolutely runs me ragged. Like she is obviously in charge. And it's kind of like, but I'm actually a detective. Okay, no, yeah, fine, Jamie, you just tell me what to do. And funny enough, the scene outside of the club when they first storm the club, and she's like, "Where's the fucking ram?" And he's like, "I didn't bring the ram." That was originally McCready. Up until we shot that in week 4, so up until week 3, that was McCready doing that scene. But I just thought Jamie was so good and so fantastic and so badass. And I was just like, do you want to take this scene and I'll just rewrite it a little bit? And so, yeah, I just rewrote it and gave it to Jamie, and she absolutely smashes it. She's amazing in the film. It's such a real privilege to work with her, because I think she's a respected actress, but I think she's really underrated. And, you know, she should be doing so much more. I think she's brilliant. It was just a real privilege to have her on set. She has good, positive vibes. I was very lucky with that, with the cast.
Great to be around.
With that. You
she's
know,
great to be around. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. Just a good-hearted human being. So it's really chuffed to have her. And yeah, I mean, she's. I find her to be quite iconically British. Yeah. For me, you know, you get Jamie Winston, you're like, yeah, bit of Jamie Winston. I'm up for the bit of Jamie Winston. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a badass. Let's have her kicking in a door to an underground fight club. Yeah, I'm up for that. This is badass. So yeah,
you do totally, like, because she's not exactly the tallest girl in the world, but you totally buy that this character would be telling this whole squad of men, just get that fucking door open now.
Yeah,
she's great.
Being kind of like exasperated at the fact where it's just kind of like, for fuck's sake, this is all day. And then what was really interesting was we didn't do the kind of like where the women are kind of all one group and the men are all another group. What we kind of worked with Kate and Jamie was kind of like, no, Jamie wants Kate's job. Like, you know, Redmond wants Keaton's job. Jamie doesn't, you know, Jamie's character doesn't give a fuck. Like, she's not there. She's there to get what she needs to get. So it's a really strong part of her where she just kind of pretty much unrelenting, but really intelligent, and she plays it really well.
So guys, what we're going to do now is we've pretty much done it all the way through this, but I would like both of you guys, take it in turns if you want, to tell people out there why they should see Knuckledust and what they're going to get out of it.
Go for it, Mo.
If you want a good laugh over the lockdown and with a few surprises and get reminded of the movies you grew up with something for everybody by a great director, check out Knuckledust.
Yeah, I think that's it, really. You know, it's been a tough year, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. There are laughs in it if you want to laugh. There's a nice serious streak if you want to get a bit serious. There's mental fights. It will take your mind off the world for a couple of hours. And also, there's dildo fights in it with dildo nunchucks. I mean, if you like dildos or you like nunchucks, imagine those two together. This is your film.
I feel like you should be mass marketing them now and just get, you know, Knuckledust merchandise.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we'll put them on Etsy.
The Stunt lads are dying to go again. They're dying to get those masks on again. Bring them all back. Bring the cast back. Bring them all back.
So this has been an absolute pleasure, guys. I'm so glad we did this. I kind of stopped reviewing a little while back. I think it was round about the first lockdown. Just didn't, much like everyone else, I just didn't really have it in me at that point, and I was just like, I'm not really into reviewing right now. I was still doing the podcast and the interviews, but the reviewings were stopping. And then I started getting back into it again. I was like, I need to get back on this train and get myself creatively moving again. And Knuckledust was probably like one of the first 5 movies that I watched when I started getting back into it. But it was the first one that I just connected with, and just like I've said before, it hit every bone in my body, and just the references, the music, the kung fu, the punchy kicky, the dialogue, everyone in it is, we've said a couple of people are criminally underrated actors. I genuinely believe everyone in this is, underrated as fuck, really. And I want to see every one of them go on and smash it. And I think you're all going to do brilliant, and give me a Knuckledust too.
Well, if it re-releases in a couple of years, I look forward to seeing Underrated as Fuck. Because that's fucking bad. I'll take that.
It's so funny because I write my reviews, and then sometimes people pick up on quotes and they get put on the posters. They always pick the shit ones, though. They never pick, like, this movie is Cynthia's balls. Like, they don't go for that. It's like, oh yeah, it was a good movie with some good acting. That's not why I'm here. But honestly, guys,
thank you so much. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the support, man. Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll keep. Movie comes out tomorrow. Comes out Friday the 11th, and I'll be pushing it as much as possible. I believe over on Nerdly UK, which is the website that I'm doing the podcast for, they're doing a competition right now to give away some digital copies. So please do, if you're watching this or listening to this, it'll be on for another week after this goes out. Get on there, you get yourself a free copy of the movie. So awesome. Maybe if you win, I don't know. I can't promise you'll get one, but you might. But if you don't, buy it anyway. Get it on there. I'm assuming it's going to be on all the streaming sites, the digital VOD, Apple, Sky, all those things.
Yeah, Amazon, iTunes, Virgin, PlayStation, Xbox, and I'm quite sure a couple of others.
Awesome. And please do check it out. For me, I've said it to Moe before, and he's a very humble man, but this for me is the lead performance of 2020, and I'm genuinely mean that. It's the only one where I've sat, and your commitment to this role is fantastic, because it could easily be a bonkers, just, and you commit to it so well. And
you're a legend. I'm feeding off the energy around me. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Feeding off everyone around me. You're awesome.
And James, I will be keeping an eye to see what your next writing job or directing job. I can't wait to see what you've got coming up, and keep me posted, man. But I'll be watching anyway.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So with that, we are going to go out, and again, check out the movie. Please do check out these guys. Everything's awesome. All the social medias and everything. They're posting posters all the time, behind the scenes all the time. Just please check out everything, because Knuckledust needs to be seen.
Thank you.
God bless. Thanks, buddy.